Welcome to the Racing Pigeon International Podcast. We talk about everything racing pigeons, the latest news, results, events, and interviews from around the world.
So we have the One Loft race statistics for 2022. These are the UK One Loft races. The overseas One Loft races are coming in the next weeks, and I will be updating this page. racingpigeon.com/OLR stats will be updated. So, talking about One Loft race stats for 2022 in the UK specifically now, and I'll be doing another podcast about the overseas races that we're going to be doing the stats for later on. So here are the stats. You can see there's a lot more stats in there this year compared to last. We've got the total prize money, the entry fee per pigeon, we've got the total gross income, we've got the total prize payout, the loft square footage, the square foot per bird, the distance in training races, the amount of training races, the amount of birds that they started with, the amount of birds that each race started training with, the amount of birds at hotspots 1, 2, 3 and 4, the amount of birds that they finally basketed, and the birds that got back from the final. As a caveat to this, which I put in the notes of this page, for instance, the One Loft race in the RPRA is still running, the race is still live, and the stats are being updated on a daily basis. As soon as they get updated, they'll be updated instantly. So some of the final arrivals will be updated and changed slightly, but all of the other information on this page will change automatically based on these numbers. So let's go through the first stats. Cotswold Valley, a new One Loft race this year. It's got a total prize money of £14,800. The total entry fee is £75 per pigeon. Total gross income is £28,950. One thing here is that all of these stats are from Benzing, or what I have asked the One Loft race owners to give me the information of, or what I've been able to get from their website. So they are paying out a total prize percentage of 51.12%. Their loft square footage is 988 square foot, which based on the 386 pigeons they had this year, each pigeon has got a square footage of 2.56 square foot per pigeon. Now, one other thing which is in the notes on this page on the weighing website, the square footage of the lofts are done purely on the loft space, not including aviary space. Many of these lofts have aviary spaces. It's been done on the loft space only, and the reason is that most of these One Loft races that are featured darken their young birds, so therefore it's based on the amount of loft space the pigeons have when they're on the dark. That's how it's worked out. As I say, a lot of people have extra aviary space, some of which is double the space, but of course the pigeons don't have access to that all the time. So that's how the loft space is calculated. So Cotswold Valley started off with 386 pigeons. You can see that they finished with 13.73% of their pigeons. They had 53 pigeons back. They started training with 97% of their pigeons, which is a great stat. Didn't lose too many pigeons off the loft or from just loft flying. And so they had a good first start. You can see that they finished with 13.73%. The next is the Northwest One Loft race. Total prize money of £15,000. Entry fee of £150 each. Total income of £26,400. Gross income, that is. Their total prize payout is the biggest on this UK list, which is 56.82%. Percentage-wise, massive payout compared to others. They've got a loft space of 800 square feet, which means each pigeon has got 4.55 square foot per pigeon. Their training tosses, they did 36 training tosses, and I know that the pigeons did about a dozen training tosses before they went on benzing. All of the training tosses are the ones that are on benzing, but I do know that the pigeons were trained at 2 miles about a dozen times before. A massive 584 miles covered in training before any other races have started. So easily the most trained pigeons in the Northwest One Loft race, and I hear that they're also opening another loft up as well, which I think is a great thing. You're not racing in one big lofts. You're racing over 2 lofts, 2 separate competitions. Great out of the box thinking from the guys at Northwest One Loft race. So they started with 176 pigeons only. They went into training with 119 pigeons. One other thing here is you can see all the hotspot and the final mileages as well. They had their final was from 205 mile. They started training with 119, so they had quite a big hit training. Obviously, the early trainers that they did hit that. But what's good about Northwest is that they finished at the top percentage-wise in the final arrival. So 21.59% of the pigeons got back from the final, and that's a really great result. So amazingly well done. Always round, square foot per bird, payout per pigeon, final arriving pigeons. Basically, they're at the top of the board there. Pride of the Potteries, moving on to the Pride of the Potteries. Total prize money of £58,300, £125 per pigeon entered, gross income of £159,000. Prize payout 36.64%. I haven't got any square footage information. I've not been able to get any details of their loft, so I have no square footage information on this. They trained their pigeons 278 miles before the hotspot one. They did 22 training tosses. They started with 1,273 pigeons, and they did well going into training. 89% of the pigeons available, and they finished with 13.9% back from the final. So well done to them. RPRA One Loft race. This race is still going ahead. Total prize money of £70,750. Total gross income of £172,000. The entry fee per pigeon is £115. Prize money payout 41.12%. Square footage is 2,520 square foot, which means each pigeon at the very beginning. And these square footage percentages are obviously based on the amount of pigeons that started in the loft. Square footage for the RPRA is 1.68 square feet per pigeon. They had nearly 75% of their pigeons going into training. They trained 29 tosses, 455 miles in total, and they finished with, at the moment, 9.29% back, having 139 pigeons back in from the final race. But as I say, that figure will increase over the next few days, hopefully for them. The Shropshire One Loft race, brand new race in the UK. Total prize money £31,110. Entry fee per pigeon is 166.67. That's basically averaged out 3 divided by 500. It's £500 to put 3 in. Total gross income of 61,000. Total prize money payout of 51%. Square footage of their loft is 960 square foot, which means each pigeon's got 2.62 square foot per pigeon. They did 495 miles of training prior to any hotspot races. They had 27 training tosses at 495 miles, so well done on that. They started with 366 pigeons. They went into training with 366 pigeons. They had a big hit on hotspot 1 at 54%, only pigeons back from that. And they went into final basketing at 27%. They had a pretty bad final, to be fair, based on numbers, with 8.74%, 32 pigeons back from the final. Who Dares wins. Prize money 110,000, entry fee 166.67, total gross income £312,673. Total prize money payout 35.18%. Total square footage 1320 square foot. Square footage per pigeon, 0.7 square foot per pigeon. Training, 456 miles of training with 29 tosses. Started with 176 pigeons, ended with 253 pigeons, 13.49% back from them. Barcelona is listed only because of the information I've got. Unfortunately for Tony, bird flu restriction zones have prevented him from finishing his series. He's included there for the few statistics I've got, but obviously no birdage statistics are there. Entry fee is £210, total prize money of £40,000, prize payout of 50%. What I would say with Tony is his race is very different, and they pay out a lot of percentage over the 3 years. If you look, it's a very different race. It's probably the very best value for your money that you can get, but unfortunately because of the bird flu, his race hasn't finished, and therefore the stats are not there. Let's move on to training, racing, the One Loft Race birdage. You can see, if you're looking at this, if you're listening to this podcast, I suggest go over the Racing Pigeon International YouTube channel and you'll be able to see the video of this. I realise to listen to this, some of it is a little bit vision, you won't be able to watch it if you're only listening to the podcast. But I'd suggest go and have a look at the YouTube Racing Pigeon International YouTube channel to look. This is a graph of the birdage. So starting, and you can see that obviously there's losses there. You can see that the prices, the amount are coming down. You can see from hotspot 2 to hotspot 3, Who Dares Wins had a very big hit, losing 800 pigeons in one go. But you can see that with everybody, come hotspot 3, everything starts to level off. How we read into all of this, I don't know. But what I do know is the lofts that had less pigeons to start with, certainly their losses were far less. There's a whole bunch of reasons that could be. It's been a tough year for everybody, tougher for some than others. So there's a graph there that can indicate what that is. There's a payout percentages. So well done to the Northwest One Loft Race for paying out 56.82%. Second is Cotswold Valley with 51.12%. Third is Shropshire, only marginally third. Shropshire OLR at 51%. RPRA OLR at 41.12%. Pride of the Potters at 36.64%. Who Dares Wins at 35.18%. Loft space, again, well done to Northwest One Loft Race, 4.5 square feet per pigeon. Shropshire One Loft Race is second. Cotswold Valley is marginally third. RPRA is fourth. Who Dares Wins is fifth on loft space. Massive difference on loft space between the first and the fifth. Pride of Potters is not in there because I don't have the stats. Percentage returns, you can see the out-and-out winner for this year, if you want to call it a winner, the out-and-out best returns, 21.59% is the Northwest One Loft Race. Second is 13.9% with Pride of Potteries. Third is Cotswold Valley, very minimally third compared to second. In fact, second, third and fourth are all in the 13 point something percent. There's only 0.5% difference between second, third and fourth. So Pride of the Potter is 13.9%, Cotswold Valley 13.73%, Who Dares Wins 13.49%, RPRA at One Loft Race at 9.29%. Again, I'm hoping that stat goes up. They're going to get more pigeons back. They only had their final a couple of days ago. Shropshire One Loft Race 8.74%. And to Lewis, who runs, to Wade Davis, who runs Shropshire, first year, always hard year, keep going, you're putting your all into it, you're doing well, just keep going, and I'm sure things will improve and you'll learn a lot from the first year. Some notes on this. The notes on all of these races are Who Dares Wins the first training race on Benzing Live was training number 7, and this was reflected in the start of the training session. Square footage per pigeon, as I've already said, is based upon the loft space with no aviary space. Barcelona One Loft Race, as I've already said, their stats are not available because they couldn't complete their race. Prince of Wales One Loft Race has not been included as there is no Benzing Live data available. Pride of the Potter is unable to get the dimensions of the One Loft Race loft setup. And as I've already said, the RPRA One Loft race are still getting details in on that for the final. They are the stats for now. If you're looking at the webpage at racingpigeoninternational.com/OLR stats, you will see that I'm going to be putting overseas One Loft races in there, including races from the Algarve, Africa and Thailand. They'll be coming soon and they'll be updated on the same page. I will be doing a separate podcast about that. And then we'll do some comparisons between. I know it's horses for courses. Some would say it's apples and oranges. But it's interesting to compare what these numbers are like compared to the UK versus other places in the world. Thank you for listening to this very quick podcast about One Loft race stats. If you're listening to it, thank you. If you want to go and watch it, like I said earlier, go and watch it on YouTube. And if you are looking at the webpage at racingpigeoninternational.com/OLR stats, be sure to share it and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch you soon.
You've been listening to the RPI Podcast. Check out more episodes at podcast.racingpigeoninternational.com.